Now, on to the actual DC. You know what? We're into Crisis, okay, and we're going to stick to it. Crisis is actually a very well written masterpiece, considering that this was never done. This actually showed the ability of Marv Wolfman as a writer, okay, and had all this orchestrated with everybody that it was involved in all the DC comics at the time. But the way I read the Crisis on Infinite Earths is that it's actually 3 4-issue miniseries. Act 1 is 1 through 4. Okay. Act 2 is 5 through 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's why I was trying to be careful there. And then the last act. It's actually a 3-act story. Okay. And Marv Wolfman was a genius for all the characters that he had to handle and how big of a story this was. You know, I think he organized it and pulled it off very well. So our story starts out. First thing he does is that we're going to see what the danger is. We're going to see how epic and biblical this is, okay? Because the first thing that happens is that we open up and he talks about, first page is actually how the multiverse came to be, okay? Infinite Earths, all vibrational planes. Then we open up to just pure hell and destruction and this character named Pariah. And a lot of this stuff is very literal. Harbinger is a character in here, and Harbinger is exactly what her name means, you know, things to come. Pariah means exactly like Pariah. And we open up with some of the icons, the crime syndicate of Earth 3, the heroes that are, you know, all of our icons, but as villains. Owlman, Johnny Quick, Ultraman, Superwoman. And they're just dying left and right. This big wave of antimatter is coming in and it's destroying their universe, and now it's reached Earth. And they're doing everything they can to try to save this. The villains who have used their powers to rule this planet have decided it's time to try to save it. And they start realizing they should have been heroes the whole time. And this is actually a lot of foreshadowing, and this just kind of shows the mustard that the DC heroes have, because all of a sudden, against unbeatable odds, Ultraman steps up and he's going at it, and everybody's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He goes, what I've done all my life. I fight to the very end. And then he dies. At the same time, the one hero on this planet is Lex Luthor, who ends up marrying Lois Lane, and they have a baby, Alexander Luthor. And much like going back to 1938 at the beginning of what is considered the DC Universe, Superman proper, the world's getting destroyed. These parents put their baby in a pod and they shoot him off into space, and when he crosses the vibrational plane to Earth 1 and lands on the Justice League satellite, he is something special. He is matter and antimatter existing, something that should not be possible. It is just physics, you know, the physics of it is just, they're impossible. And then we pick up on the ship. He sends Harbinger out, and he does a gathering, like Fellowship of the Rings, if you will, across all times and quite a few Earths. And, you know, we get the debut of the Charlton characters that DC had just bought with the Blue Beetle, and he gets Firebrand from 1940's Earth 2. He gets Cyborg from 1980's Earth 1. He gets Earth 2's, you know, Superman and Orion from Earth 1 BC past and everything like that, and Firestorm and Killer Frost. And they all get on this, they all end up on the Monitor ship that we've seen for years. Who is this Monitor? What's been going on? He gets Psycho Pirate. He gets Solivar, and we finally see all of our characters. And the characters are awesome because we start seeing this miniseries, this story unfolding through their eyes. They are us. Where are we? What's going on? And, you know, they're asking the same questions we are. And then all of a sudden we just see the big threat. They all end up getting, after they kind of try to collect themselves and figure out who's there and why they're there, to get, you know, these shadow creatures pop up. And they're fighting the shadow creatures, and they already get their ass handed to them. So here's these people who are supposed to save multiple universes, and the first thing that happens is that they're disorganized. They don't know why they're there. You know, they're unnerving. They're just like us. Where's this going? What are we supposed to be doing? And they get their asses handed to them. First thing, these are the people that's going to, you know, save us. And we get the debut of the Monitor. Now, the foreshadowing in this is Earth 3 right away, even though we're sitting here wondering what is this going to be. You got to understand, nothing had been done like this before. And as a reader and a collector at the time, you're just like, oh my God, you really did not know what was coming. There's no way that all these people are going to die. And it's just not looking good. And Marv Wolfman tells us in the first few pages with Earth 3 how this thing is going to go and how it's going to end. Okay, the thing has just this unbeatable odds. This is not going to end well. But you're still kind of optimistic. So then all of a sudden you start exploring the DC universe. They're sent out by the Monitor. He had placed these gigantic towers, vibrational forks, if you will, that these heroes are getting sent out to protect them from the enemy, who's the Anti-Monitor. And we start seeing World War II with Sergeant Rock, and we start seeing the Commandy, Jack Kirby's Commandy. We start seeing all these characters, and we're exploring what the DC universe is. The DC universe really had the reputation of having a lot of silly characters, and if you watch Batman Brave and Bold cartoon, those Silver Age characters and stuff shine on those cartoons, but they were kind of silly. They also had some silly, villains and silly things, but they had some really good stuff at the same time. So this was them not only cleaning up their universe, but they want to start cleaning up their reputation, if you will. The people who had read comics had grown up with comics, and these things that worked for kids and the simple mind of comics back in the day just did not work in the modern world. And that's what we continue doing. Now, I'm not flying by this. This is a book you've got to sit down and you've got to read. There's so many things in it. We're still in Act 1. But things are still not going better. You can already tell that they're failing at their missions. People are starting to die. The shadow creatures are starting to win. And Blue Beetle fails miserably. And, the Monitor's like, well, damn, I was hoping he could make that magical Blue Beetle scarab work, and the magic might be able to do it. And the characters were asking questions that I was asking. Okay, this is so bad, if this is like, billions and billions of lives, trillions even, in danger, why aren't you getting all the Superman and all the Captain Marvels and all the most powerful people and stuff? And it's kind of like there's a big plot hole there, but Marv Wolfman is like, acknowledging it, and we find out we should have just waited. So finally, at the end of Act 1, like any great story, all hope is pretty much lost because a shadow creature possesses one of the Harbinger, and she kills the Monitor, and he's dead, and the heroes have failed. And you see the debut, even the Anti-Monitor gets hold of the Psycho Pirate, who was part of the original. I mean, they've already had 2 traitors in their midst and stuff. I mean, this thing gets Shakespearean, man. And you're like, oh my God, when that's over with, you're sitting here like there's 8 issues left, and it feels like the story already left. You still have no idea what's going on. So then we come to Crisis on Infinite Earths number 5. Look at this cover. All my issues are signed by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. And this, I wanted to show this, man. This was great. All the heroes now are called up. Turns out that the Monitor expected to die. It was all planned out. He knew what was going to happen. And when he was killed, it released his infinite energy. And you find out a little bit more about the Monitor, that he was pretty much formed at the beginning of the universe, and in the antimatter universe of Q-Word that ties into Green Lantern, there was an Anti-Monitor, and they both fought back and forth and got into stasis. And now all the heroes, you think, that we've got like a shitload of heroes on the Monitor ship, and this blew me away. And Swamp Thing, Alan Moore, actually took that scene and did with it. And here is Forever Evil. And when it's the bad guys, we've got a 4-page spread by David Finch. I'm sorry, mine's in black and white, emulating this page, double spread, just showing that DC is still trying to top the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I don't think, in my opinion, it's never happened. So we finally realized, okay, this is what's going on, but we're still in danger, and we have billions of, we still have all these Earths still dying, and they come down to 5. There's just 5 Earths left. Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 4, which is the Charlton Heroes, I think Earth S, and Earth X, okay, that I've talked about. I'm probably missing one. And now we get to see that we're left with the Anti-Monitor. And he's the one that's taking control, man. It's looking grim. He's getting all the, he's got Psycho Pirate controlling all these planets, all these different Earths. He's controlling their emotions, which is causing people to like have riots. So now not only the heroes fighting the red skies and the time, time is going crazy. We got, dinosaurs popping up with Civil War soldiers running through New York, killing people because they don't know what's going on. We got the Legion looking over, and they can kind of see, into this world. Kid Psycho starts dying. Even the Legion's like there's a crisis in time. This thing is affecting all reality and all aspects. And like I said, it was big. I hope you're following me, okay? Because a lot happens. So all the heroes decide it's time for an assault. We're going to go into the antimatter universe, and they're going to find out what his power source is or something like that, and they're going to head on, and they get all the heroes in this one. We finally see that Marv Wolfman had a plan in this. We think this is the last stand, and this is issue 7. This is the one where you were like, oh, the shit's getting real, okay? Because right away it's been announced Supergirl is dying. We've already known it was coming, but how's it going to happen? So we have a meeting with all the heroes, and all everybody's walking around like this is going to be big, so they get representatives of all the Earth that's left. Superman, Uncle Sam, Blue Beetle. We see all of this stuff, and we see how time is getting affected, and all the planets are getting affected, and how bad this is. I mean, reality itself is collapsing, and this is beyond the shining night. And we get another history about how all this happened. This is where we get the history of the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor. And all the heroes get together, and they get the powerful of the powerful. Martian Manhunter, Shazam, Mon-El, Power Girl, 2 Supermen, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, 2 Wonder Women, and all this stuff. And they go in there. The Raid, Firestorm, and pretty much they go in there, and they're pretty much getting their asses handed to them. And they go for that one last assault on him, and it's not going to happen. They have to get out of the Anti-Monitor universe, and Supergirl all of a sudden goes out with a bang. And now we have a main character that has died, okay? Simplifying the universe. We've now made Superman unique. He really is the only Kryptonian, is where they were going with it. They were letting you know that, he's been diluted over the years by having Supergirl and Super Cats and Super Horses and Super Turtles and all that stuff. So just when you're like, wow, that was great, and you start feeling like, well, there's a fight in, and we've had the dramas up and stuff, they hit us with a 1-2 punch where you really go, this shit is real, this is not good, because they killed the Flash. And the Flash had to die, because from 1956 to 1985, this is the world that is dying. This is the world that's become, this is the DC universe, and universes that have become so complicated that it all started with Barry Allen popping up in DC Showcase number 4. And he dies a hero. And Barry Allen, in my opinion, has been the only comic book death where everybody was fine with how he died, because he saved 5 universes that were all kind of stuck together. You'd have to read it. And he went out like a man. He sacrificed himself, pushed himself to the limits, unsurmountable odds, and he saved 5 planets. And I think everybody's always been, fine when, Barry Allen came back, but they all agreed it better be a hell of a story if you bring Allen back, because his death meant something. And of course they did bring him back almost 25 years later, but that's another video. But he had to die. This DC universe started with his debut. His debut brought back heroes to comics in a big way. It led to Marvel. It led to everything that came after that. It all started with him. And the whole idea of him meeting the Golden Age Flash started this whole idea of the multiverse that got convoluted over the years and stuff. Hell of a story. Hell of a story. So yet again, we're in the second act. This is our Empire Strikes Back, and it gets worse because all the fucking villains have decided just to raise hell on all 5 Earths. And we get this fantastic cover where it's them. It's them. And all hope feels lost, and you're just kind of like, and they're showing all these characters mixing up. They got Mr. Freeze and Icicle, and the Cryogenic Man, and all them, like in one panel attacking. And they've got all these over here attacking. And they have freaking Chemo, just, who's also kind of considered a joke at the time. He's a gigantic, 30-foot plastic form of a man that this scientist was just pouring chemicals in, and one day became sentient. He could shoot him stuff out. Well, he's freaking, taking down New York and stuff with a bunch of heroes. I mean, it's just, they're raising hell on 5 worlds, just mayhem and stuff. And what the hell are we going to do? Because they're going to go back to, now they have to go back to the dawn of time where the multiverse started, like it said in the first page of issue 1. This is where they've got to go and stop the Anti-Monitor. What was the big mystery that of the hand that came up, that started all this, okay? because it ties in the Green Lantern stuff too. See, that's what I'm trying to say. There's so much to this. So then all of a sudden, our hope comes in the form of the Spectre. He's the God's judgment has shown up. Because what had happened was is at the dawn of time for the DC universe, there was a big riddle with one of the what would become the Guardians of the Galaxy. Krona had wanted to know the secrets of the universe, and it was forbidden for them to look at the dawn of time. Well, Krona did it, and when he did it, he saw this hand coming up at around the time of the Big Bang or something, and it turns out that it was the Anti-Monitor trying to take over, and all of a sudden this other hand comes down, and it's a green-gloved hand holding it at the dawn of time, and it's the Spectre. That's how I'm remembering this. Okay, so now we have hope. Death at the dawn of time. All the heroes end up going back at the dawn of time for this last battle. All the mystics are forming a circle with John Constantine, Zatanna, Ibis, the Thunderbolts. All of them made this circle, and they're pulling their magical dark and light forces and stuff, and just going through it. And they go to the dawn of time, and then everything just turns white. Did they win? All the heroes were there. And then we wake up. And this is actually where hope has started. It looks like they've won. We've come out of the second act. And it's actually kind of sad, because there's now one Earth. And all these heroes that were at the dawn of time remember the crisis. Nobody else does, because everything got reset in history. One Earth. No multiverses. But we still have... It starts out with the first heroes, the two Supermen, and the heroes that are, the Flash heroes where, this universe started. Of course they would get on the cosmic treadmill and go try to find out what's going on. They use the cosmic treadmill to go to Earth 2, and there's nothing there. Now all these Earth 2 heroes have nowhere to go. Okay? Golden Age Wonder Woman goes back to Paradise Island. There's nowhere to go. Okay, Amethyst, Lords of Chaos. I mean, it just tied everything in it. But all these Earth 2 heroes and all these other heroes from the other worlds that no longer exist, do they have a place? Do they not? And you start realizing that, as for me, as silly as some of these concepts were and the reputation that DC had, you start realizing all these characters that have just disappeared or have died or are now lost and sad and don't have a home really made the DC universe. They enriched it. You kind of like, you were all for me, I was all for simplifying this. The whole idea of a multiverse never confused me, but I'm like 12 years old and I'm like, good, I get to be at the beginning of a new universe and everything like that. And then you're starting to feel bad for them. They've lost their home. They've lost Lois. Superman has lost Lois. They don't have a home. Robin and the Huntress have, they never, their Batman never existed. Huntress's dad and mom never existed according to this. They're just walking around, waking up in apartments that aren't theirs and everything. And then the Anti-Monitor takes one last shot at destroying this new Earth, and they all pile up and they get in there, and things start happening, man. Just when you think that this is just about over, just when you think everybody that's died, that has died, they come in and they kill Dove. Hawk and Dove. Then they kill Robin and Huntress by a great big ball falling on them. And you're just like, oh my god, oh my god. And I'm sitting here, just when you thought you were safe, he comes in there and he kicks you in the nuts again. Is what they did. And it was just so sad for me to see Robin and Huntress dying. All of a sudden you're just like, I don't know if this was a good thing or not. And for me, I started realizing this, the DC universe was actually kind of cool. With all those characters, silly or not, they really had a really nice palette where you could go anywhere with anything, and it was a lot more optimistic than the Marvel Universe and stuff. And that was the beginning of it. And I actually had the page that really bothered me where heroes started dying left and right. One last time, let's try this. And they have the Mystics again. Maybe that's where they were to begin with. Alright, so this was the new beginning. We got 12 issues. You didn't know where it was going. It was a roller coaster ride. And what happened after that, DC still mucked up a few things. DC still did a lot of great things, but they had to reboot their universe again. There's still things to fix. And that brings us all the way up to now. Right now we have, with the DC 52, we have multiversity. What's going on? And what Grant Morrison did to this does again harken back to Crisis on Infinite Earths. We have our 52 multiverses back. They've tried hyper time back in the 90s, I think. Kingdom Come came out, they still had problems. But what I caught in here is that one of the first things that Grant Morrison did to harken back to Crisis on Infinite Earths, to harken back all the way to that original universe, if you want to call it original, is that he has all these heroes from different worlds pop back up on the Monitor's ship. And yeah, there it is. They're on the Monitor's ship, and it's this abandoned old, house that's just floating around. And that's what got me. He's put these heroes back in the Monitor ship, which to me symbolizes that abandoned house of ideas that was DC from 1956 to 1985. Okay, it's still loved, it's still not forgotten, and next year makes 30 years. Where you are. This is September, and in January of 1985, that will mark 30 years of this. So we'll see what's happening. So, I hope you stood in there. I just glazed over it. I just glazed over some of the history. I told you how it's in 3X. I told you the impact of what was there. And there's still more I could talk about with Crisis on Infinite Earths for hours on this. So, thanks for hanging in there. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't think I did a good job. I think I did a decent job. Go get you some comic books. See what you find in it. And, if you want to do a response video, and, I would love to see a better review of Crisis than this. Alright, thanks a lot, guys.